I find it particularly appropriate that I stand before you as the Minister of Immigration, because it was the Deputy Minister of my predecessor portfolio, the man responsible for immigration to Canada, who infamously said at that time, with respect to Jewish refugees seeking protection in Canada, that none is too many. After the ship returned to Europe, we all know the sad story, and that many of these people who sought refuge and protection from us, from the United States, from Cuba, eventually perished in the Shoah. While the St. Louis never entered Canadian waters, it became a symbol of anti-Semitism that occurred in Canada and elsewhere at the time of the Holocaust. Today, however, our government takes a zero-tolerance approach to anti-Semitism, and this is what drives the initiatives that Canada now takes. This conference and the project of which it is part underscores that, as does our, we hope, pending membership in the International Task Force, and I hope to be in Oslo at the end of next month to see that come to fruition. I also intend to visit Prague late next month to represent Canada at the 10th anniversary of the original Holocaust-era Assets Task Conference, an issue very important to Canada because it was this country that received a disproportionately large number of survivors following the Second World War. We are helping to teach Canadians about the St. Louis incident, along with the events and attitudes that underscored it. In keeping with this effort, I am happy to announce today that our government, through its Community Historical Recognition Program, will contribute $984,000 to help Brith Canada develop and operate a national task force on Holocaust research, remembrance, and education. C'est d'ailleurs dans cet esprit de sensibilisation que j'ai le plaisir d'annoncer aujourd'hui l'octroi par notre gouvernement dans le cadre de son programme de reconnaissance historique pour les communautés d'une contribution de 984 milliards de dollars. I almost said $1 million in French, Frank, just relax. $1,000 à Brith Canada. Brith Canada pour la mise sur pied et l'exploitation d'un groupe de travail national sur la recherche et l'éducation concernant l'Holocauste et le souvenir de celui-ci. Composed of scholars, legal experts, and educators, the group will include Holocaust survivors and members of the Jewish community. It will support further research around the St. Louis tragedy, prepare and publish material for high school students relating to civic responsibility, and help to train Canadian educators involved in Holocaust education. This action by Canada demonstrates that we are not content to follow the actions of other countries, but intend to be a leader in combating anti-Semitism and racism, just as we were in our decision to withdraw from the irredeemably anti-Semitic Durban review process. Our leadership promotes the fundamental Canadian values of freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, and has been demonstrated by several other efforts that Frank has mentioned, including our support for vulnerable community institutions to improve their security. In fact, just last week, I was just on Friday in Montreal. I visited a Turkish mosque, which has been repeatedly vandalized, and let them know that they too can benefit from the Communities at Risk Fund that we have announced. As you know, in 2003, all parties in the House of Commons and the Senate passed a bill to mark the National Holocaust Memorial Day, Yom HaShoah. We did so because all of us who are elected understand the need to mark a day which marks this singular crime against all humanity. In 2007, I traveled to Prague to represent our formal application for membership to the task force, and this month, at the task force plenary session in Oslo, Canada will present its application for full membership in the ITF. And we'd like to thank our liaison countries, la France et les États-Unis, pour leur implication dans nos efforts là-dessus. By seeking full membership, Canada is committing to act and to support the task force's efforts to engage all people, teach future generations the lessons of the Holocaust, and help prevent future acts of genocide. We see participation in the ITF as an opportunity to share in the lessons of the Holocaust and to learn about the approaches of other countries in Holocaust-related initiatives. We also feel that we have much to contribute to the international community and the task force I'm sure that many of you will have feedback about the direction we are taking in these matters, and we will look forward to hearing it. I should add as a personal note that just last week I was in Israel and spent several hours at Yad Vashem. But several hours wasn't long enough for me to make my way properly through the magnificent new museum. I also had a very positive meeting with the heads of the educational programming at Yad Vashem and explored ways in which Canada can further collaborate with them. I noted for them that in the panel in the new museum on the St. Louis incident, it marks the ship as going directly from Europe to Cuba and back. And I suggested that perhaps they should follow the proceedings of this conference to learn, to include content in the museum about the way in which the St. Louis journey had an effect and was rejected, in fact, by both Canada and the United States. That trip to Yad Vashem followed a recent trip I had to Kiev in November of last year, where I visited and laid a wreath at the Holocaust site in Babin Yar, where 33,000 Jewish Ukrainians over the course of 48 hours were mowed down. A few weeks later, I was in Mumbai, where I visited Nariman House, the Chabad Lubavitch Center in Mumbai. I marveled at the fact that the hatred which motivated the violence that I saw at Nariman House was essentially the same hatred that motivated the mass killings at Babin Yar. I went from Yad Vashem last week to Tel Aviv, and as I was entering Tel Aviv, we drove in front of the Dolphinarium, a nightclub, where dozens of young Jews were slaughtered a decade ago for the crime of being Jewish. And I contemplated that just as the hatred that inspired the killings at Babin Yar continues now in a place like Mumbai, so too the hatred that is remembered at Yad Vashem inspires the violence that we see in Israel and throughout the world today. And so we must learn these lessons, and that is what this conference is about. Last year at the Yom HaShoah commemoration, Prime Minister Harper said about the Holocaust that it was a genocide so premeditated and grotesque in design, so monstrous and barbaric in scale, and so systematic and efficient in execution that it stands alone in the annals of human evil. Gatherings such as this demonstrate that there is hope to stamp out the hatred that led to the Holocaust and that leads to violence against Jews today. Hope that is renewed, not only by combating anti-Semitism, but in acting to promote a true and lasting understanding of human dignity, an understanding that can protect all human beings in the future. Le Canada continuera à s'efforcer de garder vivant le souvenir de l'Holocauste. I'm confident that this conference will contribute to Holocaust education and remembrance in this country and abroad. I wish you all the best in your discussions and deliberations and look forward to hearing about the research that emerges from your efforts. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.